In this video, you're gonna learn how my sales team brought in $2.6 million in revenue in just 1 month, and this is on top of the $40 million in annual recurring revenue my company already does, and you're gonna learn exactly how they did it. The cool thing is this presentation that you're about to see, I gave in front of a couple hundred business owners. Most of them were law firm owners, but the principles apply to every business type. So you're gonna learn concepts that you may have never heard before around why underspending on budget is actually your biggest expense, meaning not spending enough on marketing is actually a bigger expense than overspending. The fact that it's unethical to let your prospects sign up with your competitors. The belief, cultivating the belief around a 100% close rate and why you should enter every call believing 100% of people are going to work with you. The importance of compressing time in the sales process. You're also going to learn at the end this heart transplant doctor analogy that I use that is really powerful for accelerating your sales process and really understanding that you are saving someone's life by getting them to purchase your service if you believe in what you do. Make sure you pay close attention. You watch this video all the way through, but only if you want to make $2.6 million in 1 month. The first thing to understand when it comes to sales is whether you like it or not, you must master sales. And when you are a master at something, it means you are never stopping learning about something. Someone told me last night at the happy hour that intelligence in any area, the #1 indicator of intelligence in any area is what? Call it out. Mastery, go ahead. What's the #1 indicator of intelligence in any area? Knowing you don't know it all. That's close. Continuing to learn. Curiosity, that's it. That is the exact word. Mastery, the indication of mastery is an area in which you are the most curious, is an area in which you are the highest likelihood of being closer to mastery in that area, right? So if you aren't curious about persuasion and sales, it's impossible to master it. So I am constantly thinking about sales as an area of curiosity for me, because it is something that if I want to have the impact that I want to have, if I am not curious about how to persuade people to improve their lives and invest in their business, then I don't deserve to have the impact that I want to have. And quite frankly, all of us, we all have visions for the impacts we want to create in our market. We don't deserve to have the impact that we want if we can't persuade people to take action, because that's what sales is. It's helping people make decisions. And if the decision that someone is making is going to advance their life forward and you don't help them make a decision, you are harming someone. So shame on you for harming someone. That's how I talk to myself. That's how I talk to my sales team. Shame on you for letting that person get off the phone and say, I need to think about it. Why would you ever harm someone? Right? That's my belief, because I have so much belief in the value that we provide, the differentiation of what we provide. I believe we are harming people when we let them off the phone with wishy-washy words like, I need to think about it. Can I call you back? Can I think about that? That is bull. That is the cancer of revenue, right? Letting wishy-washy, let's get a round of applause for that. So that's the first thing. This is a sales church right now for the next hour. I need everyone to play with me on this. I need everyone to make a commitment that as a result of this session, you are going to bring in at least $3 million in revenue as a result of this session. Can I get an I commit right now? All right, thank you. All right. So, #1 goal of sales, especially in a service-based business, is to get so many leads that you must build a sales team. You must expand a sales team. If you don't have 4,000 people calling you, that's your #1 problem. This whole belief in the legal industry of, I just want perfect fit people to call me, right? It prevents you from taking massive action. You want everyone calling you. What legal services company do you think gets the most unqualified leads in the nation? Morgan & Morgan. You think he goes, we ran a billboard. We had someone call us about them stubbing their toe on the sidewalk. and they thought they were entitled to compensation, do you think they just go, okay, pull all the billboards, we got an unqualified lead. Pull all the commercials? No, right? It's this referral word of mouth belief that we've been, that's been spread through the legal industry that causes us to think that there is this perfect surgical way of getting right fit clients to call you every single time. It's not about that, it's about sifting, right? It's about building a sifting system. So number one, you must get so many leads that you must build a sales team. We call this lead abundance. Always come back to this. If your top line revenues are not growing, you have reached a lead abundance ceiling, okay? You must master sales. That's number two. When you master something, you are the most curious person about the thing. That doesn't mean you think, oh, well, I know sales. I've been doing sales for a year. That's someone who didn't master sales, right? Someone who is mastering sales is the most curious person about it, constantly learning about it. So I want to re-spark that curiosity in everyone. Okay, number three, the next big picture thing before I go into the sales training concepts, what I did for my team, I want you to relabel the marketing and sales department of your law firm. I want you to relabel it as the revenue team. Revenue team. Starting today, this is one of the greatest pivots that we made at SMB team. For a very long time, we segmented our marketing team and our intake team, we call sales team. By the way, you should stop using the word intake. That's a professional services word. Sounds better than sales. Dude, call it a sales team. It's a sales team, okay? So we relabeled our sales and our marketing team as a revenue team, and it probably was one of the greatest impact decisions that we did in the company. We now have our sales and marketing team meeting together every single week because can marketing work without a sales team or person? Yes or no? Unless you are an e-commerce business, marketing cannot work without a person converting the lead, unless you're an e-commerce business. So it must, you will never get an ROI from marketing ever in and of itself. You only get an ROI from marketing through a human being converting a lead. If, again, you're not e-com. So let's talk about, if we're gonna change our labeling of marketing and sales, marketing and intake to revenue team, what's that look like? Let's talk about how marketing ties into sales, okay? Because these things are absolutely essential to understand. Okay, first thing, budget. Your marketing budget. I mentioned this to some of you. One of the biggest problems we had on the revenue team side of SMB team last quarter was underspend. Underspend. We underspent to our budget, right? When you have 15 people in marketing, 15 people in sales, like we do, 30 people, dedicated to generating revenue, and you don't hit your budget, that is the most costly thing to a business, because now you have 30 salaries you're paying and no sales coming in to justify it. Underspend is more costly than overspend. This is such a counterintuitive belief. If you were to spend $1 on marketing next month, newsflash, you would have the worst return on investment ever on that $1, because you get nothing from it, zero, right? Zero would be your top line in terms of your return on investment equation on how much you spent, right? So we have to start relabeling this in your mind. Underspend is more costly than overspend. I always use this thing, like if you could grow your firm by $10 million in 1 year, and you only grew your firm by $1 million in 1 year, you just paid life a $9 million ignorance tax. So what's more costly, underspend or overspend? Underspend. You paid life $9 million for tiptoeing, right? So that's how I view it. This is a counterintuitive belief. So underspend is catastrophic for where you want to go in the future. So for me, this is such a high priority in the company. I had to actually dive into this quarter and understand, why are we underspending? And I had to look at all the funnels that we're running and work with Andy's team, and it was a very complex project. So I'm going to break down to you some principles of what I learned. The first is you have to know your opt-in math. So write this down, opt-in math, opt-in math, right? Opt-in, what is an opt-in, right? S&B team has 3 core lead magnets, right? So lead magnets, we have our book now is a lead magnet for our company. We have our 2-hour webinars that Andy runs. That is a lead magnet for our company. We have our 3-day virtual boot camps. That is a lead magnet, okay? Those are our top 3 lead magnets in our company. And then we have our direct consult lead magnet, which we position as a 360 analysis call, right? So really we have 4 lead magnets and 1 direct consultation lead magnet, which is positioned as a 360-degree analysis call, right? So the first thing to ask yourself is, what are your law firm's lead magnets, right? Most law firms' lead magnet is get a consultation, right? SMB team's lead magnets is 3-day virtual boot camp for free with speakers and transformational concepts, a 525 number 1, results producing book in the industry, but so differentiated that people have to opt in for these things, right? We've had like 60,000 firms opt in for our various lead magnets just over the last year because we have so many different hooks in the water, right? So many different bait in the water. And then we have our direct consultation lead magnet. We've gotten so good at our front-end lead magnets that we don't even have to ask for consultations in our ads anymore, right? We're able to do it on our thank you pages. How many of you have gone through one of our funnels, seen the video from me, when you opt in for something, and then on the next page, it says, hey, thanks for signing up for da-da-da-da-da. We want you to book a 360 analysis call with our team, da-da-da-da-da, right? So we get our consultations booked on the second step of people downloading our stuff, right? So understanding your opt-in math. Let's say it costs you $500 to get a consultation for your firm, right? Well, what if it costs you $15 to get someone to download your domestic violence tips and tricks book? Or what if it costs, $50 to get someone to sign up for a webinar, right? That's 10 times cheaper than getting someone to book a consult. I'm not saying you stop doing consults, right? In terms of promoting consults, but also put some other bait in the water, right? Other types of lead magnets. So our opt-in math came out such that through a lot of experimentation, we found that our front-end lead magnets that aren't asking for a consultation, those front-end lead magnets produce cheaper consultations because it's so much cheaper to get someone to buy our book or opt in for our book or opt in for a webinar and then get them to book a consult than it is to go immediately for the consult, right? So this ties into your content strategy. By the way, how many of you have made videos on YouTube? Raise your hands, okay? If you've ever made a video, your lead magnets already exist in the stuff that you've taught. Hire a VA to go through 5 of your videos and create a lead magnet from it. You don't have to personally write lead magnets. There's ChatGPT. You could upload transcripts of 15 videos you run. All you have to do is ramble long enough, and with how much of an expert everyone in this room is, you will have a world-class lead magnet come as a result from that. Because some people aren't ready for a consult. Remember this concept changed my life forever. Value from a distance. Most people don't trust your law firm, but they will accept value from a distance from your law firm. Value from a distance. I want distance from you. I don't want to feel pressured. I don't want to feel sold. When we get someone to sign up for a webinar, sign up for a book, an ebook, a free material of ours, they're getting value from a distance from us. They don't feel pressured. They feel like they can do it on their own schedule. That then builds trust and reciprocity so that when they do get on a call, they at least trust us, right? And close rate goes up because they've already received value from us. The goal is to make your sales team have such an easy time closing that it's like shooting fish in a barrel when they get on the phone. That comes from everything you do outside of the sales call, right? So know your opt-in math. Know how much it costs. Start doing some experiments on social media. putting out free guides, free lead magnets. See what your cost per opt-in is for that. Compare it to your cost per opt-in for a direct consult, and see if you were to have an outbound. This is, by the way, our business blew up when we started learning the art of outbounding inbounds. You're not allowed to do outbound in the legal industry. Like, you can't go solicit clients, right? But if they contact you, you're able to contact them. If you had 5,000 people contact you in 2 weeks, meaning they downloaded something of yours, you now can outbound 5,000 people. Hey, my name's Joe Schmo. I work for the XYZ law firm. I see you downloaded our da-da-da book. Did you get that in your email? Oh, no, I didn't. I didn't check it. Yeah, let's open up your email real quick. By the way, why'd you download the book? Well, I'm actually going through X issue, and I'm kind of considering hiring an attorney for it. Huh, interesting. Yeah, our book's going to give you world-class information on that, and da-da-da-da-da. But by the way, why don't I set you up with a consultation with so-and-so on our team to actually help you solve that issue? What do you think? Yeah, okay, cool. So now you've turned a free opt-in into a book consultation, right? And you provided value from a distance. So you've handled a lot of psychological factors with a situation like that, right? And that's how our sales team gets the majority of their opportunities. Calling people who signed up for our boot camp, calling people who signed up for a webinar. We make more money before the boot camp even happens than we do at the boot camp. We make more money before the 2-hour event happens than at the 2-hour event, before they read the book. Because we're contacting people as soon as they take an action, right? So, there's principles within all this that I'm gonna break down. So do some brainstorming for yourself, and ask yourself, okay, what are the practice areas within my firm? What are the niches within that practice area? And what lead magnets do I have, right? Just brainstorm the stuff out. What do I already have? Sometimes this is in materials you already give your clients that can just be repositioned externally. Things you've already made in your marketing. Never create a lead magnet. Repurpose something you already have into a lead magnet, right? Don't write a book first. Like the book that Andy and I wrote, that took 3 years of work. Don't start there. That's what we call a flagship lead magnet. Someone reads that book, their life will be changed forever, right? That's a flagship lead magnet. Don't start there. We want tripwire lead magnets to start. By the way, we didn't have that book for, 6.5 years. We didn't have that book. And we got to where we are, right? We used a lot of tripwire lead magnets. And then your book becomes the tripwire lead magnets that had the biggest impact on people compiled into an organized system. That's your book, right? So a ton of micro experiments compiled together and organized becomes your book, right? By the way, books are huge thought leadership pieces. Like if you've already gone down the lead magnet chain of experiments for a while, maybe it is time to write the best book on your practice area ever written, right? Okay, 3 more things before I go into this sales training that I gave my sales team. 100% close rate belief, okay? And I can hear what you're thinking. What if they're not a right fit client? What if the facts of their case aren't perfect for me to sign up? The problem with this culture in the legal industry of they're not a perfect fit client, we shouldn't work with them because they're not a perfect fit, is it creates excuses in your sales organization and potentially for yourself. I want you to enter 100% of sales conversations with the belief that you're gonna close 100% of people that contact your law firm. And then, innocent till proven guilty, right? You're gonna start with the belief of that, and then you're gonna back up from that based on the facts of the case, but you're not gonna use subjective things like, oh, they weren't really serious about it. That's broke people thinking. Okay? It's broke. You can't think like that. If they called you and they had a serious issue, it is on your sales process to make them make a decision. Yes, make them make a decision through your sales process. This is the easiest way to increase your firm's revenues. What I'm talking about right now is your sales process. 100% close rate belief. So I tell my sales team, if you're on the phone with someone, you are going to close them. There's only two parts of the sales process I tell my sales team. There's fact finding and there's closing. Fact finding is asking questions about the case, the client's situation, prospect. And then what most sales trainers say is there's proposal. Proposal is when you propose a solution to someone. Skip proposal, okay? Yes, proposal is part of closing, but proposal only exists for someone to buy, right? This is when you explain what it's gonna be like working with your firm, the experience you have, the this, the that, and then you ask the most stupid question ever at the end of the sales call. Do you have any questions? All this value built, okay? All the value that you built through the fact finding, the intelligent questions asked through fact finding, the intelligent proposal of solutions, embedded social proof, why you're the right firm, why now, why me. You do all this work, and then you're gonna ask do you have any questions? No, you ask a closing line, right? This is all in our sales training university, right? Alignment close. Hey, at this point, I feel like we're aligned in terms of what you need and what our law firm can deliver. Do you agree? Yes. Awesome. I don't see any reason why we can't move forward now. Would you agree? Is that pushy? No, that's intuitive. When you ask closing lines, it will produce two things. Either a yes, let's do this, or a objection. Is I need to think about it an objection? Yes. Is I don't have the money an objection? Yeah, it's a lie too, right? There's 3 levels of objections, like I always say, right? There's complaints, there's actual objections, and then there's conditions, okay? 99% of objections are actually just complaints. Automatic defense responses, ADRs, right? Automatic defense response, resistance towards sales processes, people, things, right? Breaks. I need to think about it. I don't have the right information. It's an involuntary reaction to a sales process. So treat it like that, right? Treat it like a little kid asking for an ice cream cone after they just stuffed their face with 5 pounds of ice cream. No, don't go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll call you back and we'll meet and talk to those other lawyers. No, treat it like a complaint. No, yeah, I fully expect that you'd say that. Let's do this anyway. Let's do this. I know the value of what we provide. I know the problems that you just expressed to me. I know the results that we've been able to get for our clients for the last 23 years. Let's do this now. You're gonna do this sooner or later, right? Let's do this now so you can get on to all the other things that require your attention. Sound good? This is not comfortable, okay? This feeling's not comfortable at the end of calls. So your team, if you have a sales team doing this, they must role play this. If you're the one doing this, you must role play this. Role play is what makes uncomfortable things comfortable. Or I shouldn't say comfortable, but more desensitized. The discomfort never goes away, but you can become desensitized to the discomfort through role play, right? 100% close rate belief. Don't let anyone have excuses on your team that if this person wasn't I need you to be a heat-seeking missile when you hear an excuse, or you actually use an excuse yourself on why they weren't a right fit. The only thing that can make someone not a right fit is the facts of the case. That's it. And I would veer on the side of sign them up first. And then say, hey, after we've analyzed a little bit more stuff, I have another attorney I'm gonna link you up with, and we're gonna be sending you back, blah, 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 whatever. I would veer closer on that side than the side of, well, they're not a perfect fit. They weren't serious. Okay? Reducing time to close and speed of follow-up system. Write these two things down. So we want 100% close rate belief. We want to reduce time to close. And we want a rapid follow-up system, okay? Reducing time to close, what's that mean? Time from when they first contact your law firm, not the first scheduled discovery or scheduled call. Time to close is the second they contacted your firm to when they sign and pay you, right? We want time to close to be as close to immediate as humanly possible. Time kills all deals, right? So if you get an opt-in, not even a consult, someone just opts in for something of yours, or a consult, and they schedule, for whatever reason, let's say you have an intake person who schedules their discovery call or their first call for a week later, I want you to freak out about that. I want you to create a culture where if that ever happens, someone on your team calls that person and says, hey, Bob, I saw you schedule a call for a week out and you put in your information on this page. Let me ask, would you be opposed to doing that's a no-based question. That's a Chris Voss question. Would you be opposed to moving this to today so we can solve the problem a little bit faster? No, I wouldn't be opposed to doing that. Awesome. Anytime after 2 p.m. work? Boom. Now you've just condensed the sales cycle by 7 days. That's insane. 5 to 7 days, you've just condensed your sales cycle. People lose the emotional state that they were in when they opted in. Everyone, track what I'm saying closely. They lose the emotional state that they were in when they opted in 2 hours. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. Sometimes it's 3 minutes. Sometimes it's 30 seconds. But no greater than 2 hours. The emotional state that they were in when they wanted to get a consult from you, that's gonna fade away in anywhere between 3 minutes to 2 hours. 2 hours, it should basically be that they didn't even contact you. Just pretend they didn't even contact you, and it's just straight cold outbound at that point. Right? Who are you? Anyone ever called a lead and had them say that? Who are you? What? I didn't opt in on that. Yeah, like your cell phone number's here, your name is here. I didn't. Yeah, that's because they have 15,000 advertisements popping up on their phone on Facebook, LinkedIn, every social media platform, offline, online. Of course they forgot, right? So that then ties to speed of follow-up, right? Which is that third point. What is your process for speed of follow-up? Number one variable that we've tested on turning opt-ins into book consults is just speed of follow-up. Your script could be Morse code, okay? And you will get a higher response rate if you follow up with someone in 30 seconds of when they took the action than the most elaborate sales follow-up 2.5 hours later. You'll get better responses with misspellings, just literally ... Like, you will get better responses from that by following up rapidly. This is immediate money. And by the way, the shorten the sales cycle concept, like, why don't you just ask people to sign up right away? Why do you have to go through, if you know you can help them, if people who have money don't have time, people who have time typically don't have as much money. If they are qualified or if they have a good case and their urgency is really high, and you have a brand that you can put your stamp of approval on, why don't you start the call with, hey, what's up? My name's so-and-so. I'm here, head attorney here, or coordinator here. Let me ask, you ready to move forward? Just go right for it. See if they're ready. Yeah, no, I've watched 15 of your videos, and now I'm saying this tongue in cheek. I understand you need to understand facts of the case and stuff. But as soon as you have enough information to ask them if they're ready to move forward, throw it in a couple times. Train your team to throw it in a couple times, right? You will be shocked. The people that will just go, yeah, I've watched 15 of your things, I've looked at your firm online, I looked at your reviews, we're ready to roll. I need to solve this problem. Cool, yeah, let me shoot this over to you right now, check your phone right now, awesome, yeah, cool, just input your information there, it's our retainer agreement, sign it, awesome, congratulations, thanks for that. Let me ask you a little bit more about your case. But now we got the deal. Okay, so this is that sales training I brought my team through that produced $2.6 million in 28 days. So those are just overall concepts that I wanted to share that have had a really big impact, okay? Now I'm gonna transition to the principles of the sales training that I gave my team that produced the outcomes that I shared with everyone. Now, this sales training can be used for you if you're involved in your sales process, so it's like me giving you the sales training, or pillars of this can also be used for your intake team, right? To get them to increase their performance. So, first thing that I did with my entire sales team was I got everyone recommitted to their role, okay? Recommitted to their role. So, are you 100% committed to SMB team being a company that you want to do sales for, right? If not, we will pay you a $10,000 severance right now, and you can leave. That's how I started my sales training. Are you actually committed to representing these services that we have, right? And, this gets the room, a little bit, oh, ooh, he's serious. Whoa, this is real, okay, right? But that's really important. Number one reason that you're not making sales is either you have lost conviction in the quality of your product or your team has lost conviction in the quality of the product. Sell or be sold. If you are not sold on the quality of value that you provide, you're not going to sell as much. Now, in legal services, unfortunately, a lot of problems pop up. And it's easy, especially as you scale a sales team, it's easy for them to focus on the 5 most recent problems that popped up rather than the transformational results that you've had for 500 people. It's much louder to focus on complaints, true or false, right? So, recency bias plays in. We had one client problem that 5 people on the team were focused on. Those 5 people kind of transmit it to someone else, gets to a salesperson, they get on the phone, their belief's a little bit lower, there's an objection, they're not willing to stick through. Maybe the client is right that they've been ripped off before by a marketing company and this coaching stuff is bull, it doesn't really work, it's all just hot air, blah, blah, blah. They're gonna be less likely to persist if they don't believe that this is something someone should spend their last penny on. Do you believe that if someone had their last penny, they should spend it on your legal service? I do. And by the way, we've had dozens and dozens and dozens of clients who actually spent their last penny joining our company and now have 8-figure law firms or multi-7-figure law firms. So yeah, I actually do believe someone should take out a loan to work with us. Someone should spend their last penny to work with us. That's how much conviction I have in what our company provides. Ask yourself that for your legal services. So if you had a medical emergency, right? And if a loved one of yours had a medical emergency, this is what I trained my sales team on when we were going through this section. If a loved one in your family had a medical emergency, let's say they're having a heart problem, right? And they were going to die unless they found the right heart transplant doctor. and you found the only heart transplant doctor that could help your wife, your husband, your loved one survive. If you present this to your loved one, that you found the solution for them, right? And your loved one has an objection. How would you respond in that situation? Would you just let them die? Yes or no? Yes or no? No. Okay. Is your legal service the only heart transplant doctor for that prospect in that situation? You got to ask yourself that, right? If you believe that your firm is going to give someone better service than anyone else in your market, it's your duty and obligation to be ethical and push people to make a decision to work with you. If you would like to be unethical and allow people to go to crappy competitors in your market that are underpriced, doing crappy service, then go be unethical and let people get off the phone. You guys like this? See, I'm flipping ethics because we think ethics is being a nice, upstanding citizen. I'm an ethical person. No, your ethical duty and obligation is to have an impact on people, to solve their problems. If they don't work with your law firm, you cannot solve their problems. You're putting them out into the abyss of low-quality legal services that exist in every market. Is it intense? You're damn right it's intense. That's the level of belief we need to have. Intense. Okay. All right. So that's the first thing, complete conviction. Okay? Now so that's the intangible side of conviction. Now there's product conviction. That's the second category of conviction. Right? So we're talking about the emotional side of believing in your product. What about the actual tangible side of believing your product? People make purchase decisions for a merge of two factors, psychological and emotional, meaning logical and emotional reasons. People make purchase decisions. Typically, purchase decisions are first made emotional and then rationalized logically. If you only make emotional sales, we had a sales guy who did this, and he was one of our top guys. He only made emotional sales, but there was no logical justification. So people would back out. They'd get buyer's remorse, but there is no data to back up the emotional decision that they made on the quality of the product, the uniqueness of the legal process that the law firm follows, quote unquote. So people would back out. They would get buyer's remorse. Both must exist. So your logical justification is what we call product conviction. So I need you to have a differentiated value proposition that backs up the emotional buying decision. Hey, by the way, let me tell you a little bit about how the Marco Flores way is different from any other firm that does X, Y, and Z. Do you have a second? See, what we do when we get into, restoration, fire, water, blah, 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 what we do is we follow a three-step process, and most firms follow this reversed. Most firms look at dot, dot, and dot, but we look at it like this. We look at it first with blah, blah, and blah, and we take a completely different approach because we have former prosecutors that are, throwing a Bruno line, right? Bob Bianchi line, right? So the differentiators of your value prop are the logical support system, right? So I need you to have a line, a paragraph, right? Backs up. I don't care how uneducated the buyer is. For those who do PI, and some of you target low socioeconomic demographics for that, still do logical justifier. You want them to leave the call thinking, man, that sounded like a great firm, emotional, and that sounded like I'm gonna get more money for my case based on the process they follow that's unique. Sounds like the right decision for me. Sounds like they have a unique methodology of doing it, right? The higher your transaction value, the more logical justification you need. Right? So our average sale is, $60K a year, and with our client duration is over $200,000 LTV. So our justification is huge, like very, very high. We need a lot of logical justification, right? But not everyone needs a lot of logical justification. Like Derek Martin, who does traffic tickets, right? You don't need much logical justification. It's a $1,000 defense fee, right? So it's all compared to, and then you have different sizes of cases. If someone's dealing with a multi-million-dollar, injury, they're going to need a little bit more justification than someone who just was in a fender bender, right? And there's spectrums for every type of case. The key to removing yourself from the intake process is both having a process for emotional and a process for logical conviction, right? And that comes down to your sales process. And by the way, we have a script for this, which we have in the portal as well. Okay, so this is the next point. Transactional versus transformational conversations. Transactional versus transformational conversations. Huge, huge. Which one of those two do you think the best sales organizations have? Transactional or transformational conversations? What do you think most law firms have? I mean, dude, call 4 of your competitors and just test this out. It is horrific. If you were to call 4 of your competitors, you would literally laugh off the phone if you hear the administrative crap that are in 90% of legal intake processes. It is insane. Name, the. Okay? So what's a transformational conversation? First part of transformational conversation is what I call conversational fact-finding, not interview fact-finding. When did this happen? When did that happen? When did this? Tell me this. What about this piece of data? Right? That is interview fact-finding. Conversational fact-finding is share, ask, listen, reply. Share, ask, listen, reply. Share, ask, listen, reply. Share, ask, listen, reply. This should loop through 100% of your sales conversations. Share. You share something first, right? This is why we always start calls with, by the way, this is the concept, we learned from Chris Voss, who I'm actually in a mastermind with. I sit right next to him. And he told me once, he said, people love to correct salespeople. I was like, what does that mean? People love to correct salespeople. So what he meant by that is when you make a statement, right? Even if it's the wrong statement, you will get a more honest answer in the person's correction of your statement than you will directly asking them for the question. So example of this, like going into fact finding. Tell me why you booked the call today. Okay, that's traditional entry line when you start a call. Hey, tell me why you booked this call today. Emphasizing the word today, that then builds urgency. When you do it, tell me why you booked the call today is different than tell me why you booked this call today. Everyone notice the difference there? Because that emphasizes urgency. Oh, I'm booking it today because this, right? Now, I could just ask that question, or I could say an I assume line. Now, I assume you're struggling with a little bit of a challenge around X area. Is that correct? You will get a better answer by making an assumption, sharing, right, than you will by just asking an interview-style question. Now, you can ask interview-style questions, but a conversation typically is two sides sharing things and batting off of one another. That's how natural conversation happens, right? So share a little bit, then ask. Is that correct? Do you agree? Then listen, then reply, then share, then ask, then listen, reply, and loop that, and the person will go into a warp hole where they don't even know you're doing fact-finding with them. because it's not interview style, right? So conversational fact-finding is the first part to transformational conversation. Example would be, when we ask, there's a concept in our sales script called the dominant buying motive, which you guys have heard about a lot, right? This is the number one reason that someone will buy your service. And that's never a logical reason. We've seen, in working with 600, currently we work with 600 of the fastest growing law firms in the United States. We've seen that there's really 3 categories of needs that clients have. First is they want to autopilot and profit their law firm, meaning they want their firm to run itself and produce a certain amount of income without the day-to-day involvement in their firm. Number 2 is some law firm owners want to sell their firm in X number of years for $10 million, $20 million or whatever. And third is you're not worried about either of those 2 things. You just want to scale and dominate your local market. Which one of those 3 applies most to you? Share, ask, listen, reply, right? So factoring that into your sales process makes it more conversational. Transformational conversation point number 2 is rapport, right? How do you strategically build rapport, right? How do you build rapport in a way where you're actually vulnerable, right? Why do I start my events and always tell my anxiety disorder story when I do my big virtual events? Right? Attorneys are anxious, but also the first thing that people are thinking in a sales conversation is this guy for real? Right? Is this person for real? So I want to start with as many damaging admissions as I can in the beginning of a sales process to show vulnerability and to show that I'm a human being. I have struggles. I am fallible, just like you, So that's a great way of building rapport. It's just, sharing common problems of everyday person in the sales process. And then the dominant buying motive is the third and most important thing by far. Transformational conversations revolve around their number one pain point. Their number one pain point is never what they tell you their number one pain point is. Why'd you book the call today? This is the most important one. You could scrap the first 2 things I just gave you and just focus on this, the most important thing, transformational conversation. Their dominant buying motive is never what they originally tell you, ever. So they booked the call because this thing happened. They don't want to get arrested. Or they don't want to get locked up. And tell me, why is that important to you? Well, because my family's gonna lose respect for me. I'm gonna lose custody of this, And tell me, why is that important to you? Well, because I have an inferiority complex and I was bullied as a kid. That's what it always comes down to. No, I'm just kidding. But there's always, if you go 3 layers deep from what they told you, that's the reason they're gonna pull out their credit card. That's the reason they're gonna sign your agreement. And then you tie your solution to how important is it to you to get the respect of your family, to have freedom, and to not experience X pain? Well, that's everything to me. Awesome. Well, at this point, I feel aligned in terms of how our legal services are going to help you achieve that to the best of our possible ability. Do you? Yes. Awesome. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't move forward with this now. Would you agree? Right? What's that? Yeah. Would you be opposed to moving forward now? Right? So conversational fact-finding, strategic rapport building, and dominant buying motive. 3 things to focus on. That will have much more transformational conversations than transactional. We listen to call recordings of our team. Vic calls us out all the time. Vic hates when he starts seeing people reading from a script or appearing as though they are reading from a script, right? It's one of Vic's pet peeves when he's looking at the sales team. So this will help you combat against that, right? All right, so transformational versus transactional conversations. Objection handling and closing lines. I hit on this originally, but I'm going to hit on it again. The money is made in the objection handlers and the closing lines. The money is made in the objection handlers and the closing lines. That's where the money is made. Closing lines typically produce an objection. 65%, 70% of the time, when you ask for the sale, there will be some form of resistance. When you do not ask for the sale and you're being conflict avoidant, right? You're not going to get as many objections. And here's the telltale sign that you didn't have a good sales call. When you get off the phone, or when someone on your team gets off the phone and says, "Man, that was a good call." That means you didn't have a good call. Because negative emotions should appear at the end of good sales calls. Not positive emotions. Negative emotions should appear at the end of a good sales call. A good sales call, when someone is making a life-altering decision, it's not all, yeah, I want to sign up now. No, it's, yeah, let's do this. Or it's, I really need to think about this, you know? What assurances can you give me? What's the, people's cortisol increases. People's stress hormones release at a higher rate. Very rare that at the end of a sales call, if it's a good call, that it's, woohoo, yeah, I can't wait to pay you 50 grand up front. Yeah, I can't wait to trust you with a $1 million case. It's very rare, right? So we need to go to the negative. I always say, go to the negative as fast as you can in calls. Hey, let me ask, how many other law firms have you talked to? I want to get that out quick. Who else are you looking at? Hey, out of curiosity, are you looking for a cost-effective solution or a freedom-effective solution? Right? Are you looking for, I want to pull this stuff out quick, right? How important is it to solve this problem versus save some money? Right? I want to get all the, if you get all the objections out before the closing line, now this is an if, you will close at 100% when you ask closing lines. If you got every objection out and handled it before you get to the closing line. When someone expresses a concern, never gloss over it, ever. If you're in the middle of fact finding, and they introduce a new thing, like talk to wife, and they say it under their breath, or think about it under their breath, or trepidation, or not really sure if we even need a lawyer for this yet, well, you're gonna stop fact-finding immediately, and you're gonna handle that objection and get to the bottom of it. You're gonna probe. Hey, let me ask, what do you mean by that? Right? Because that's gonna prevent the sale. Again, you're either in fact-finding or closing. The objections typically present themselves through parts of fact-finding, parts of the proposal. You just didn't listen to them. You glossed over them because you're in a zone, you're in the flow, right? So you stampede over it. The person was trying, remember this, all people are trying to show you how they buy. The question is whether you're gonna listen. All people, they are trying to show you how they purchase. The question is whether you listen. They are desperately trying because they have a problem, right? They're trying to tell you they have a cost sensitivity. They're trying to tell you they need to talk it over with someone. They're trying to tell you they need to think about it through their tonality, their language, their trepidation on this question, right? So pause. Tell me a little bit more about that, right? Okay, so objection handlers and closing lines. We want to handle objections as early on in the call as we can. If there is too much objection tension at the end of a call, they won't close. If you ask a closing line and there's 15 unanswered objections, that's where the cancerous word, I need to think about it, pops out. Too many things to resolve. So they say, I need to think about it. What they're really saying which they would never say, is I have about 15 concerns of mine that weren't addressed in the earlier parts of the call, and I feel a little odd bringing you through a bulleted list of those 15 things that I even haven't conceptualized myself. Therefore, my automatic defense response is, I need to think about it. That's what if there was a logical projection of what they meant, right? So let's talk about end of the call objection handlers, right? So closing lines are the gateway drug to objection handlers. Okay, alignment close, confidence close, right? So, hey, at this point I feel aligned. Do you? Great, I don't see any reason why we can't move forward now. Would you agree? Confidence close. Hey, at this point I'm confident in our ability to impact X, Y, and Z objective that you have. Are you? Awesome, I don't see any reason why we can't move forward now. This is the direct one. This is the right decision for you. We should move forward with this. Can everyone please say that out loud? That line has made me millions of dollars, okay? When I was doing sales. Not made me, but made sales of millions of dollars. Okay, ready? This is the right decision for you. We should move forward with this. Ready? Everyone say that. 3, 2, 1.
This is the right decision for you. We should move forward with this.
Yeah, there we go. Here's a real short one. Let's do this. Say it. Yeah, let's do this. All right? Sooner or later close. Mr. or Miss Prospect, do you agree that you're going to take action on something like this sooner or later? Yes. Awesome. Let's get started now then. Would you agree? Okay. Think about it, close. This handles the I need to think about it. I understand there's a lot of things to think about for this. And I'm sure you have a ton of other things going on right now that you'd like to be focused on. Yeah. Well, let's get this into action now so that you can get on to all the other things that require your focus. Sound good? These are simple. These aren't pushy either. The reason they're not coming off pushy with how I'm doing it is because when I was doing sales at yellowpages.com, I role-played these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And that's why I was number one in the company. Because I was the only person that role-played. So when I got to the end of the call, my automatic defense response was, let's do this, right? Whereas the prospect was, I need to think about it. I had rehearsed so much, I just naturally went to, yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't do this now. Would you agree? I rehearsed it so many times, my word vomit was just, sign up now, right? So easy. Okay, so closing lines. Now, objection handlers. These things merge together. An objection handler is agree, acknowledge, handle, right? Now remember, never treat a complaint as an objection, right? You get to the end of the call and they say it's too much money, that wouldn't prevent you from doing business with us, would it? Write that one down, please. That's magic. Please write that one down. That wouldn't prevent you from doing business with us, would it? You hit so many factors there. That's a no-based question. It is like, it works so well as an objection handler when it's a complaint. That wouldn't prevent you from doing business with us, would it? That wouldn't prevent you from working with us, would it? That is a magic line right there. Try that out on one of your next calls, or have your team try that out. And again, we have all these written in our sales scripts in our online portal. Agree, acknowledge, handle. If it's a true objection, again, if it's a complaint, if it's an automatic defense response, don't treat it as a real, thorough objection. If they actually have an articulate, real objection that's going to prevent the sale, agree with it. Hey, I fully understand where you're coming from. I fully understand why you feel that way. Agree. Acknowledge. Right? So let me clarify. What you're saying is blah. Yes. Handle. Would that prevent you from doing business with us? Right? Or you can do a more articulate handler. Understood, it's the money. Now, is it that you don't have the funds, or is it that you don't feel comfortable spending the funds with us? That's a good one. Okay? Okay, it's always gonna be money, time, talk it over with someone else, right? So is it that you don't have the funds, you don't feel comfortable spending with someone else? Let me ask, on a scale 1 to 10, this is an objection handler, on a scale 1 to 10, where are you at right now in terms of moving forward with us? 1 being you'd never work with us even if it was free, 10 being you're ready to go right now. Well, I'm at an 8. Awesome, what would take you from an 8 to a 10? Then when they give you that, just say, done, let's do this. Now, unless they ask for some crazy thing, but, right? But that's what I call quantifying the objection, right? Another thing, it's always value, it's never price, right? It's always value. So let me ask you this. If you were signing an agreement with us and the agreement guaranteed you $1 million wired to your bank account tomorrow, you would do it, right? Yes. So let me ask, what is it about our offer that you don't think is gonna get you X result? So now so I call this objection bouncing. We've taken them from a price objection to now a value objection. They're always value objections, right? Need to think about it? Hey, let me ask, when would you think, how long would you need to think? 2 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, right? Well, I don't know, about a time. Awesome. Would you agree that you're gonna do this sooner or later? Yes. Let me ask, do you have other law firms in mind that you could immediately hire? I want to know that. If the answer is no, then it's, let's put this into action now so we can get on solving your problem instead of you going down the rabbit hole of calling 15 other firms that you're not going to know whether or not to trust. When we have all this proven results and experience in this, don't you think you'd be better off working with someone with the experience and results that we have? Yes. Awesome. I don't see any reason why we can't put this into action now. Would you agree? Yes. I'm telling you, this little magic moment at the end of calls where you turn indecisiveness into decisiveness is where all the money's made. So closing lines and objection handlers are the money makers. The more you have to use objection handlers, the less value you provided during the sales process, right? You shouldn't have to use 1,000 objection handlers. You should have built trust. You should have proactively handled them. And by the way, storytelling is one of the best ways to handle an objection. Tell a story about, let me tell you a quick story, John, about a client of ours, because you brought up money, and I understand that's important to you, this before the end of the call. A client of ours who thought that X was too much money for them. Now do a price anchor. That thought that $50,000 was too much money for them, right? They went with a public defender, they did it on their own, and blah happened, okay? And now that person is locked up for years. So you tell me, what do you think's more expensive? The $50,000 that they saved, or their lack of freedom for the next 20 years? Boom, now you just go on to your next fact-finding question. Right? But now you've done a price anchor and you've already proactively handled an objection, right? Okay, another couple quick things to close this up. Level 1 role play. Level 1 role play. This is the way that these things become hardwired into you. Level 1 role play is literally saying the only 2 things you need to level 1 role play is closing lines and objection handlers, or your team, because those are the hardest things to do, right? Level 1 is not level 3 role play. Level 3 role play, sales role play, is how you hardwire this stuff into your mind. Our sales team does role play, right? I did role play for years when I was doing sales. So level 1 role play is literally saying a line, hey, that wouldn't prevent you from doing business with us, would it? And it's 2 salespeople. You could do this with someone else, or your team can do this. Salesperson 1 says, that wouldn't prevent you from doing business with us, would it? Salesperson 2 says, pass. Now salesperson 2 says, that wouldn't prevent you from doing business with us. Salesperson 1 says, pass. Lance, let's try this real quick. Ready? We're gonna practice this line. You're gonna tell me pass or fail based on whether I said it clearly, I didn't stumble over my words, and you believe it, okay? That wouldn't prevent you from doing business with us, would it? It's supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be simple, okay? So say pass, and now you say it. Pass. Very simple. Now, if you want to be a dick like Lance, you can say fail, okay? All right? So, but most level 1 role play is pass, pass, pass. And then if you really stumble over your words, the person goes fail, do it again, and then you do it again, and then boom, you lob back and forth one line, you do that 10 times, and you do another line. Very simple. Most people, when they do role play, they do these out-of-line objections like, well, my cat's head got decapitated yesterday, and, well, you just help me. What? Right? That's actually what we call level 3 role play. You don't need to do level 3 role play. Like, do it every now and then. You don't have to do it a lot. You can do this in the mirror during your morning routine or have your team do it, but it is magic how well this works. Okay. Last thing that I want to share is having a unique script that ties into what you sell, okay? So I'll give you an example on how this works. Because S&B team offers 360-degree services, our marketing, our coaching, our fractional executive solutions, our bookkeeping, et cetera, we have to do fact-finding around more than just a law firm's marketing. So therefore, our fact-finding process, we try to do fact-finding around your lead generation, your intake process, your team, and your profits. Remember this, wherever you don't fact-find, you won't sell, okay? So you have to fact-find in the areas that are relevant to what you sell. So controlling your fact-finding, having a unique fact-finding process that relates to the value prop of what you sell is really important. So be a leader on calls and say, hey, what we do when we have a consultation with people like you, John or Bob or whatever, what we like to do is walk you through 4 specific sets of questions because of the way that we handle immigration cases being different than most of the other firms in our market. So is it okay with you if I ask you questions around 4 areas around your situation? One of those areas must be a personal area, right? So it would be, we want to ask you some facts about your case. We also want to ask you some facts about how this is affecting your personal life so that we can create a comprehensive plan for you. Sound good? So now you've gotten permission to ask personal questions in advance, right? So have a comprehensive fact-finding process. Just control how you're doing your fact-finding. That's all. Don't just have it be random questions about your case, right? And the last thing, okay, before I sign off, is the capabilities brief. Capabilities brief. Everyone, please write this down. This is my last thing, then I'll be off stage. The capabilities brief. Okay. So, almost nobody does this in sales processes. This has been needle moving for us. So, usually when a sales call happens, you immediately go into fact finding. Tell me about your situation, right? Tell me about your case. Tell me why you booked the call today. Tell me about blah, is how most sales calls start. The problem with that, now Bob Bianchi is really good at sales, and I've heard him do this, as he walks around doing calls at past workshops. He's really, really good at this. He strategically implants thought leadership into the beginning of his calls. Let me tell you a little bit about my experience. I've been around the block, the. So when you see excellent, world-class salespeople, they always do a capabilities brief strategically throughout their call. Capabilities brief is where you very quickly brief the prospect on why they're talking to an expert. 3 things they must trust. They must trust you, the company, and the solution. All 3, not just you, not just the company, not just the solution. A capabilities brief solves all 3 of those. So at the beginning of the call, as early as you possibly can, you want to say, now before I ask you some questions about your case, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience, a little bit about the results our company has been able to produce, right? And a little bit about why our legal services are different than everyone else in X market. My name is da-da-da-da-da, I have X years experience, I'm a former prosecutor with this, I've been through the block with blah, blah, blah. Now, boom, you. So remember the 3 areas. We have to build trust in you, the company, the solution. You, the company, the solution. So boom, check. Now you've solved you. Now next is the company. Now, it's not just me doing all the work here. We have X number of attorneys who are trained on our proven process of blah, blah, and blah, and you can see that evidence in our hundreds of 5-star reviews on Google for the amazing results that we've gotten clients for the last 20 blah years. So now you've sold them on number of years, you've sold them on social proof, you've sold them on the company is better than you, because if you don't want to be the bottleneck, you want to sell them on the company, I would say even more than you, so that they're not always coming back to you. And then the last part is the solution. Remember, 3 things: sell them on you, sell them on the company, sell them on the solution. All 3. So the solution, okay? And through now this is real quick. Everyone please write down, no more than 3 minutes. This is Spidey level speed, okay? Because this is taken away from fact-finding time, right? So Spidey level speed. A little bit about me, a little bit about the company, and here's the evidence of how the companies work so well. And in doing all of that, we've invented a proprietary method for handling criminal defense, immigration, family law, insert practice area cases, and it's our 3-step proven process that we call the Bianchi way. That's pretty good, yeah, right? Yeah. We call it the Bianchi way, and where most firms do, and this is where you're doing us versus them. You know, most firms focus on blah, we focus on blah, completely different than anyone else, and that's why I think we've sustained the success that we do. Now let me ask, boom, now you're into fact finding. Why'd you book the call today? What's your situation? What's your da-da-da-da-da? So the reason that's important, especially as you scale a sales team, yeah, I could get on the phone and close a very high % of people, but I don't do sales calls for our company. So the capabilities brief allows your seller, when you scale a sales team, to have social proof. So one thing our sales team is starting to do now is, hey, my name's Brett, I work with S&B team. I've actually helped 105 law firms grow their revenues, profits, and freedom in just the last year. Boom, so now he gets thought leadership, right? And then company and solution is the same, right? So now, because you want them to feel like they're talking to an expert. So just remember this, everyone. Whether you resist sales or not, sales is going to continue being the lifeblood of your business, right? So become curious about this. What are some micro changes that you can put into your firm in the next 48 hours that can have a big impact in this area, okay? And let's go do it. Boom.